Hi, everyone. Glad you're here. I knew early in my Your Tech and More business launch journey that having a good quality business website that built credibility, displayed my brand well, and did not overwhelm the user, think about the too much concept, who may eventually become my client. But I was then, as I'm sure many of you are currently, overwhelmed by all the conflicting information that I found out there, from advice to best practices to things that you should do, things that you shouldn't do. So it was very, very overwhelming. So I began culminating information from multiple credible resources that I could find. And I did some experiments for my own business website, built that site, and implemented a content formula that I will be providing to all of you today. This is episode number 6 of the Path Forged with Tech podcast. And I'm your host, Donna Smith. And I welcome all of you YouTube viewers out there today and from any other source that you are consuming this episode at. New episodes are dropped every other week on Thursdays. So let's get started. First thing, I want to make a general statement about this content of this episode. Today, I'm going to be focusing on content design topics, not on specific tools or services that I recommend to create and host your site. So instead, it's all going to be content design and layout kind of content. Number one point that I want to make is it's important to have a central theme, be able to articulate on your website about your business, regardless of where you are in your online business journey, but be able to identify some theme elements, really understand what it is that you do, what you bring, what you want to showcase to the world. And that central theme not only needs to be able to, of course, to convert to sales, but also have great elements to perform well in SEO realm for being found by Google searches for rankings, etc. And one of the most important elements is to build your credibility and have this site be your home for your brand and your main central hub for your business. That's what your business website should represent. For all the other ecosystem parts that you've got going or will have going for your business, this business website that we're talking about today needs to be the central hub, because first impressions count, and having a great quality business website nowadays, especially for an online business, is more or less essential. It's a required element. So first off, we want to talk about the required website pages that go onto your site. Number one is the home page. The home page, of course, is the default whenever someone clicks on or finds your site, like via Google, etc. It's the site main page that is the starting point for your business display. And so you need to have compelling headlines, captivating information about yourself and your business, what you're all about, and really give the presentation that you've got your act together, that you have got your call to action articulated in there. You need to understand and project your unique selling proposition. All that kind of stuff needs to go on your homepage. Next, you need to have an about page, either about me or about us. Now, let me talk a little bit about that me versus us. You want to, even if you're a solopreneur like me, you want to be cautious of me versus us, because you don't want to just be seen in the marketplace as somebody who maybe can't handle a big job, at least in a timely manner, because your resource constrained. You don't have employees. You don't have virtual assistants that can assist you. That's the me versus us. So in some respects, even if you're a solopreneur and you don't have any or very little staff, it's probably best to go with us and have everything, all your wording, and the way that you talk about and project the business as from an us standpoint, because it's going to give a better projection that you can handle larger jobs. So that was something that I learned, that I keyed on right away, is the idea about us. Another big important page are services. In other words, your products and services, basics about your pricing, and the idea that you want to either have an online store for making orders directly on your website, or at least a gallery view, like in tile format, etc., that outlines starts to categorize all your different products and services, and at a minimum, the pricing, or at least some contact information on there, so that so someone interested can follow up with you. In other words, be able to book a meeting, fill out a form, etc., to be able to get more information, direct contact with you on that products and service. So it needs to be either a store or some sort of a gallery of basic information regarding what you offer. So that's a very, very key page. Another element to have for a page is a blog or podcast or general resources that you offer for information regarding what it is that you do as a business. And nowadays, with the popularity of podcasts and blogs, having such a page on your site is critical. And it's a great way to record content, get yourself out there, and become an authoritative leader in your field, to have a blog or a podcast. Another important page is contact, like Contact Us, or just a contact page that has a basic form to get name, email, and maybe phone number on that interested prospect, and that way you can automatically get that person added into your list. That's a great resource to have on your site. And also testimonials. It's important to either have a dedicated page or at least roll your testimonials into another page, or onto one of your design elements onto an existing page. And you want to have, say, like a dedicated testimonials page if you have a lot of testimonials to showcase. Otherwise, it's probably best to have it rolled into another area of your site. So those are the basic pages that you need. Next, I want to review with you some basic how-to advice and recommendations for the content and the placement of your information that you have on those pages that we've talked about so far. You need to be thinking about calls to action right from the get-go when you're designing things. And it's best to have a unique call to action, one call to action per page, and to have that call to action different from one page to the next. That's an important element. Also, you want to have the captivating, want to know more information about you and your business in the above the fold. So above the fold has to do with scrolling or not of a visitor on your page. Most people will not scroll on your page, especially if that interest is not there that you're building on what it is that they're looking at. And so you always want to have the big hitters, the attention grabbing information above the fold. You always want to have a multi-page website versus a single page website. And for instance, if you have a one-page site that automatically forces to be able for the viewer to get the full information, forces the scroll and to be able to see all the information. And nowadays, a one-page website is not as captivating. It's not as credible for your business. So you always want to have a series of well thought out, well laid out, concise information that is logical, with a logical flow on multiple pages of the site that give the full picture on your business. Important element. You want to, a big important point in marketing nowadays is to utilize video. Video of you front and center in front of the camera, giving great information about yourself and your business. And a great place to have at least one video on your website is on your homepage above the fold. And that homepage video should talk about why you're in business, your unique proposition that you bring to the marketplace, and your passion about your business, and your enthusiasm, and what it is that ultimately you can do for the prospect to client. So that's an important thing, is to be helping your presence in the online world with having a great video on your site. You also want to think about your brand colors, the overall colors that are utilized on the site, as well as one or more fonts. And I don't recommend, regardless of really what stage that you're in business, that you spend a lot of time on brand colors and fonts. But it is an important aspect to have documented, and then utilize those colors and fonts throughout everything in the online world that you produce for your business, starting at your website. And so you should do some just a rudimentary gauge as far as the best colors for yourself that you want to have to go with your brand, to go with your logo. A logo is a great place to start, looking at the comparable colors that go with your logo and that don't go with your logo. And so you want to think about that just a little bit, and then have that on your website. Another important point, we've been talking about pages and the content a bit of pages, but there's also what's called a header and a footer that go on a website. And those are specific sections at the very top and at the very bottom of the entire site that, regardless of where you are on the site, that same header and footer are shown to you. So those are important pieces of real estate for your business to get right. And so some general guidance for header and footer content is to include a universal call to action. Say, for instance, offering a free 30-minute consultation or review to go with your lead magnet or something like that. You want to have a universal call to action on there. You want to include your logo. You want to include social media links, and possibly policies like data policies for data retention, your sales and refund policies. Those types of things are a great thing, like to have down at the footer for a hyperlink to go over to a respective policies page. You also want to have down at the very bottom of the footer, you want to have a copyright notice that has the current year. That's a very, very important. So those are some basic guidance there. And next that I want to do is I want to give you a quick demo of my website so that you can take a look at what it is that I have right now for my website. This, of course, is the home page. This area up here at the top is the header, and then all the way down at the bottom is the footer. Right down here is the footer. This white area is the main part of the footer, and then that copyright that I talked to you about is down here at the very bottom, easily delineated by colors. Sectionality design of your website is very, very important for easy consumption of the individual sections. So down here, by the way, in my footer is where I have my logo, because I didn't want to detract from the background image that is on above the fold on the home page. So that's the reason why I put the logo in the footer. Okay, so here is like my attention grabbing headline that I was talking about for the homepage. And then just some further details to try and get the viewer to scroll more. Like to be able to find out more. Who hires me, that kind of thing. And what it is that I do as far as education, consulting, and unique products like software. And a basic about us section, outlining my mission and vision, all of these kind of things. Who do I work with? What is my target audience? And some basics as far as why choose us, okay, or why choose me, kind of thing. So that's kind of the basics that I have right now on the homepage, okay? Another important thing is the about page that I talked about. So about us gives some details about myself as the CEO, my core values, okay? Some nice imagery, not over the top imagery or videos, but it's a good idea to have those kind of elements on here. I have my testimonials as a separate section on the about page, is the way that I currently have that. And a distinct call to action about connect with us to find out more about your project, that kind of thing. So very short and concise the way that I've got that laid out right now. And next online has to do with services. So here's my services pages, or service page right now. And so on here, I got some details about the basics for what it is that I offer as a service. It's very short and to succinct currently. I need to do more work in that area as far as getting that updated. And I currently have a podcast, and so I have a podcast tab instead of a blog tab and page. And so it's on here where I've got my linking in here for all the various episodes for my current podcast. The contact page, here I've got my form for basic list building information, along with regional information, phone number, and social media links. So very, very concise. So that's kind of oh yes. And then the central call to action is this book a free call here button. So that will take you over into my booking system so that you can set up a free, no obligation call with me. So that's the basic overview of my website. And so to close out this episode, I want to give you a brief summary as far as the key main points to take away from this episode. You need to do some pre-work before you start your build on any of your website hosts of choice. You need to understand what you're offering and what your business focus is, your vision and your mission, your unique selling propositions, your target audience, and your call to actions, your multiple call to actions. Number 2, it's best to map out before doing any building the flow of each page in a series of diagrams. What will go where? This way, you won't miss something whenever you actually go to build the live site. So it's a great planning and resource for you to use to make sure that what you want to build is actually manifested on the site itself. Point number 3, required web pages are home, about, services, blog, or podcast. and contact and testimonials. Point number 4, it's best to have a clear single call to action per page. Number 5, use of video is always a winner to get a viewer to stay on the page, short and to the point. So a wrap up point for this episode. Please leave a comment below with your feedback and questions. And I'd love to hear about your consumption of this information, the way that you plan on utilizing it. And because I personally respond to all comments that are entered on the page. And so to close this episode out, I'll be back in 2 weeks with more content to inspire and provide how-to information to leverage technology in unique and cost-effective ways to grow your business. So until next time, this is Donna signing off, and have a wonderful day.